Chapter 16. Apparently I'm special. A few more rounds dissolved the awkward atmosphere faster than I'd expected. By the seventh time, when she could barely move and her legs had gone limp, satisfaction finally settled over me and my cock finally demanded rest. Instead of exhaustion, energy flooded through me. Every minor ache from when I'd first woken had vanished completely. The difference shocked me. During our marathon, I'd worried someone might walk in and wanted to stop, but Selena insisted we were safe. Before the fifth round, I managed to ask her name, fumbling over the words like an idiot. Afterward we talked. Selena came from a distinguished family called Velan. In their glory days, her household had been legendary healers. They could regenerate severed limbs, and rumors claimed they'd even raised the dead. But their prestige crumbled when summoners began contracting spirit summons capable of healing anything. Her family's bloodline ability weakened with each generation. Still, she'd found a way to strengthen her gifts, expanding her essence pool. It should have been impossible, but she believed, Selena believed with absolute conviction, restoring her family's name was her only hope. No one had visited this clinic since the Academy's founding, she explained. The kingdom maintained it purely as a gesture to honor her fallen house. A far more advanced infirmary existed where spirit summons healed wounds instantly, which explained her surprise when I'd been brought here. Our meeting, however it came about, was a blessing in disguise. She certainly seemed to think so. I had my own reasons to agree. My essence pool had grown beyond anything I'd imagined. Summoner status. Name Cade Marlowe. Rank F. Spirit Essence 300. Active Spirits 1-5. Main Attributes. Summoner's Touch Basic LV 1. Infinite Vitality Basic LV 2. Perfect Fit Basic LV 2. Extra Attributes. Emperor's Presence Basic LV 1. Strategic Apex Basic LV 1. Conqueror's Will Basic LV 1. Warlord's Command Basic LV 1. Holy shit, I thought it was a fluke when I jacked off earlier, but I really can increase my essence pool through sex. I dropped onto the bed, grinning at my status screen. My essence pool is climbing, but my rank isn't budging. Why is this another glitch? I sighed and leaned back. At that moment, Selena emerged from her office into the ward, properly dressed now. Her black skirt hugged her curves, ending mid-thigh. Her hips swayed with each step, honey-brown skin glowing beneath the white light. She settled beside me on the bed, resting her chin on one hand. Her gaze drifted upward, distant with thought. Blonde hair framed her face, and despite the subtle lines that marked her as older, she remained striking, a beauty who could easily pass for my age at first glance, though closer inspection revealed she was at least in her early 30s. "Hey, are you okay?" She blinked, focus returning. That gentle smile curved her lips, the kind only older women seem to master. "I'm fine," the smile deepened. "Just thinking about what you told me. You've been through hell." I chuckled. "It's all right, I got rewarded for it anyway." Her expression froze, surprise washing over her features. She pointed at herself, eyes wide. "By reward you mean, me?" A grin spread across my face. "Nope, I'm getting stronger. This nirvana you mentioned, it works just like dual cultivation." She clicked her tongue, gaze sliding away. What a letdown. It wouldn't have hurt to give this lady a compliment or two. I studied her profile. You didn't need compliments, you did it for the reward too, didn't you? A breath escaped her lips. You're right, but it's two people having sex. You're just going to brush that aside. Of course not, but don't tell me you're getting attached after fucking me once. Her smile stretched tight, muscles fighting something beneath. What do you mean, once? You were. Never mind, I see you're the cocky type. I leaned back. Not really, but you said it yourself. You searched everywhere for someone who could take you to nirvana and found no one. I did something no one else ever could. I wouldn't be surprised if you got attached. The forced smile grew more brittle. Well, why, you're not wrong, not that I remember phrasing it like that. I closed the distance between us, hands finding her hips, pulling her toward me. You didn't need to. Your desperation spoke 1,000 times louder than your voice ever could. Her expression froze, color flooded her cheeks, then she smirked. You seem to be really getting into character for someone who just lost his virginity. I pressed a hand to my chest. I'm surprised myself, but I think you may have unleashed the demon emperor in me. You have my gratitude, Selena. If you want, I can make you. She yanked free and shot to her feet, hands on her hips. I have to go to the public guild now. You don't need to go back to that place. I can give you the clinic keys. You can stay here, but getting into the academy grounds at night is difficult. You'll have to be careful and... My stomach growled, cutting through her words. I laughed, pressing a hand to my belly. All right. She crossed her arms, gaze dropping to me. After all that, I'm surprised you haven't passed out. I grinned, different kind of stamina. You mentioned the guild. Is that a summoner's guild? She shook her head. No, I don't have business at the Summoners Guild. Besides, what happened between us demands secrecy. However effective Nirvana proved to be, it's forbidden. I could be arrested and executed for it. I straightened. What? Executed for having sex? People fuck every day. You don't understand. Her voice dropped. Before and even after 1,000 years ago, women across Eildrim have felt pleasure during sex, but we've never been able to climax. That peak where it's supposed to reach paradise, that glimpse of transcendence, it doesn't exist for us. There are rumors about giantkin, but not many are willing to be fucked by a giant. Her stare intensified. Your existence is both blessing and curse. If others who know the truth about Nirvana, like me, hear about you, they'll hunt you for obvious reasons, but if the church discovers what you can do... She leaned closer. They'll eliminate you. They can't tolerate a human who can accomplish what no being, not even elves or dragonborn, can achieve. You'll be killed, Cade. Chapter 17, Establishing Authority. I sat there letting her words sink in. In simple terms, what Lyra meant was, I could get killed for being able to fuck well, unlike most men in this world. That just sounds twisted and petty. But it was true nonetheless. Lyra wouldn't say it otherwise. Her gaze held mine. She exhaled long and slow. That's why I intend to use the mercenary guild reserved for low ranks and grunts. I have a friend there. She's aware of my research, and I use her measuring orb to check if my spirit essence has increased. So far, there's been no result. Her fist clenched. But I'm certain about today. If it works, I'm going to owe you. I smiled handsomely. I hoped. You don't owe me anything, just help me get food. I'm starving. What time is it? Late afternoon. The academy should be closing soon. I presume your otherworlder friends will be coming around to see you. Don't go telling. Kiss and tell, seriously, Selena. Her eyes softened. She scoffed, then pulled on her coat and walked away, the sway of her hips and the soft tremor of her ass nearly giving me another boner. But I leaned back, head resting on the pillow, thinking about how wild everything that just happened was. Before now, I was furious at Derek, but who would have thought a day would come when I'd be this thankful for getting hit? Not that the son of a bitch deserved any pardon. Then I remembered about Cassie. I sprang up and quickly summoned her. A swirl of crimson wind appeared before me. As it scattered in a spray of sparks, the tyrant empress stood there, her immaculate body clad in armor that left much to the appetite. She remained still, unmoving like a statue. I stood, raising my head slightly to peer into her helmet, but there was nothing, no space, just seamless metal with no opening for eyes at all. Weird, I definitely saw it the other time. I stared at her for several seconds. She didn't move an inch. Finally, I released a tired exhale, scratching my head. Drop the act, okay? I know you can talk and make your armor disappear. Stop messing with me. Absolute silence, absolute stillness. Cassie, Cas Gautamit. Still nothing. The corner of my lips curled dangerously. I know what to do. I circled around her, coming to her rear, observed her helmet, glanced at her heavy ass positioned like it was sculpted mid-fall. Then I swung my hand back and gave it a good slap. Her entire body jolted. The sound of my palm against her cheeks rang across the empty ward. I was grinning with satisfaction when she suddenly grabbed my hand and flipped me in one sharp motion I couldn't track. 1 second I was standing, the next I was airborne, then slammed onto the bed. The iron frame snapped in two, the mattress bent inward. Her helmet scattered into sparks as she straightened, her chest bouncing softly. I groaned, but to my surprise, the pain was manageable. Either she'd handled me with care or my increased essence pool had boosted my body's durability. Cassie stepped closer, placed her iron boot over my neck. You disgusting pervert, tell me why I shouldn't kill you. I chuckled, glancing at her pelvis and thick upper thighs from my position. You wouldn't dare, I'm your summoner at the end of the day. My eyes narrowed to slits. And you're being too disrespectful, Cassie, want me to teach you a lesson. A vile grin split her face, a muscle in her temple twitched. What, you weak human, is that an authoritative voice I hear? You're using Emperor's presence. All beings within 100 meters will be intimidated by your presence, especially your spirit summons. Remembering how it felt when the attribute activated before, I willed the same feeling, this time consciously fueling it with essence. It was like drawing something from my soul using only the focus of my mind. Immediately, Cassie staggered backward, the air grew heavier, so heavy even she couldn't bear it. She trembled, dropped to one knee as I rose from the bed. The closer I got, the stronger the pressure became. My naturally black eyes gained a crimson glow, dangerous and intimidating. She was already kneeling, lowering her head and gritting her teeth, trying to resist the pressure crushing down on her. I stood over her and grabbed her crimson hair, wrenching her face up toward mine. Not that I expected this to go smoothly with a calamity tier spirit summon with a fortitude of 8.2. I've been thinking about what to do with you, how to establish our relationship. If you're going to come at me strong, I'll come at you stronger. Cassandra was the tyrant empress, a walking disaster that had nearly ended the world. She was evil by nature and had enough spiritual fortitude to defy my orders whenever she pleased. So I'd been thinking even though I wanted to coexist with her, she was arrogant, the type who tried to dominate quickly, which was why I needed to establish who was in charge. Luckily for me, the answer came while I was fucking Selena. I tightened my grip on her hair, jerking her face closer. Her eyes burned with hatred. Let's get something straight. I activated Summoner's Touch with my other hand and gripped her jaw. I'm in charge here. My voice deepened, effortlessly intimidating as the crimson pressure continued to suffocate the air. I am your summoner, which means Cassie, I own you. Her hatred was cracking. She was trying to suppress something else. Her nipples pressed through the silky black metal of her armor and her breasts swelled, though subtly. She gritted her teeth, managing to hold her glare, but her knees trembled as I kept my hand clamped on her jaw. Then a drop of thick, colorless liquid leaked from between her legs. It hit the ground. A crooked grin split my face. I released her, shoving her back. She stumbled and fell, crushing the bed frame beneath her. I froze, stared at my palm. I just meant to push her face away lightly. How did she? The realization hit. My physical prowess was increasing along with my expanding essence pool, which meant I could grow stronger by having sex with others. But then something else clicked. Summoner's Touch, perfect fit, and infinite vitality, these abilities seemed specifically tailored for me and my spirit summons. Maybe, just maybe, I'd experience far greater growth if I had sex with my spirit summons. Chapter 18, Lyra Velen. Lyra approached a 3-story building at 47 Soldiers Rest Avenue, Southern District. This was the location of the Mercenary Guild. She had just dropped from a carriage and walked over to the other side of the road. She removed a bronze coin, kissed it, and lowered it into the cap of a lean man that rested beside the concrete base holding the lamppost. Afterwards, she walked through the 2 large open oak doors. A young lady with deep blue hair and radiant blue eyes, both charming and welcoming, greeted her at the entrance. She wore a white blouse with the first 3 buttons undone, revealing her cleavage. She stood to greet before realizing who was walking in. Welcome, Lyra, her smile widened, voice lifting. Lyra smiled and gently patted her hair upon nearing the desk. How's the new job treating you? Victoria's gaze dropped for a moment before she brightened. Fine, actually, the pay is enough for Emma and me to get by, but I try to squeeze our expenses. Maybe if I save up enough, I can afford to send her to the Imperium Academy. She has a passion for metal scraps and fixing things. I think she'll make a fine engineer. Lyra's smile warmed but carried weight. I hope you're able to. I can't promise you much. We all know what a devastating state the economy of this nation is in, but I trust Triss. He's not going to cheat you. Work hard and you might even get a raise. The receptionist's smile spread wide. He told me never to stop smiling because I have a very beautiful smile. Lyra stared at her for a beat, then scoffed and shook her head. Please don't let him into your skirt, you'll be disappointed. Victoria's face flushed immediately and she turned away. Lyra studied her face, eyes narrowing. Oh no, too late. The pink deepened across her cheeks, she shook her hand quickly. It was only his hand, her gaze fell. Clara came in and chased him, the words tumbled out, dripping with embarrassment. Lyra watched her for a moment, suppressing the urge to laugh at how flustered the young lady already was. She shook her head. Keep your distance from Triss as much as you can. He has 3 kids from 3 different women. Unless you want to become the 4th, make sure you know what you're doing, Victoria. Victoria, with her straight bangs lining the top of her brows, looked surprised but quickly responded. Yes, ma'am, thank you so much for that information, Lyra, I never knew. Lyra shrugged and glanced at the door beside the reception desk. Is Clara around? Oh yes, she is, and there's not much of a crowd today, just the regulars. Lyra chuckled. I wasn't really worried, I just hate the men around here. Victoria tilted her head, smiling sweetly. I know. Lyra scoffed and touched her shoulder. Take care anyways, I'll see you later. She walked through the door and stepped into the main hall. The usual smell of ale, roasted meat, and wood smoke hit her, mingling with the low hum of conversation and laughter that eased something in her chest. In the main hall, 12 wooden tables filled the center, each flanked by benches that could seat between 8 and 10 people. The flooring was wide wooden planks, scarred and worn. Exposed wooden beams held the ceiling, iron chandeliers holding flickering candles that dangled from them. Lyra didn't walk toward the center. Instead, she headed west, reaching the bar where a gruff man with a rusted metallic prosthetic hand stood mixing ale for an old man leaning on the counter. Behind him, sparse shelves held different brands of ale in glass bottles. When he spotted Lyra, he flashed a welcoming smile. Lyra Velen herself, been a while since I saw you around. Lyra tucked her hands into her coat. Work been busy these days, surprisingly, is Clara in? The man glanced at the door in the west corner, pausing to think. Oh, I'm not sure, I think I saw her, but she should be around, he scoffed. I mean, it's not like we get jobs. Lyra nodded with a small smile and walked through the door. Reaching the kitchen, she passed through, returning greetings from people before reaching another small room more like storage with a bunk bed and next to it a table and chair. A young lady with chestnut hair was asleep, slumped over the table. She gently took a seat on the bed, but as soon as she did, the lady snapped her head up, alert. Seeing who it was, she sighed and stretched, her voice rough and honeyed when she spoke. Hey, it's been a while, she yawned. Don't tell me you're here because you want to check your stats again. Lyra smiled. Clara recognized that smile inside, pulling open her drawer. I'll do this for you as many times as you want me to, but Lyra, as a friend, I've got to be straight with you. This thing is impossible, it's ancient history, one that you can't trust. It's impossible to increase your essence pool with Havana or whatever you call it. Lyra didn't respond. A small, confident smile played on her lips as Clara settled a dull rainbow-colored orb on the table. She loosened her brown leather corset top, letting her breasts slightly lift the fabric of her rumpled gray shirt. After she set the orb on a soft pillow, she turned to Lyra. There, place your hand over it. Lyra already knew the drill. Her hand was moving before Clara finished speaking. Her hand rested gently over the sphere. A subtle white glow emanated from within, spilling out a holographic panel just above it. Lyra Vlan. Essence Pool 400. Rank D. Bloodline ability, low tier healing. Both their eyes widened as they looked at each other. Lyra was D rank, which meant her essence pool limit ought to be 300. The last time they checked, which was 3 months ago, it was clearly 300, but now it was 400. Clara's eyes trembled, she couldn't believe what she saw. Lyra's sparkled, a wide, beaming smile spreading across her lips as she stared at the increased number. This was a symbol of hope. Clara's voice cracked. How come W, what D did you do? Who D did you do it with this time? Her eyes widened. Wait, don't tell me. She covered her mouth with her hand. You had sex with a giantkin. Lyra's frown came swift. What number would I still be alive if I did? A graceful smile curved her lips, like that of a starved MILF who just gotten the best sex of her life. It's a secret. Chapter 19, The Arrogant Empress. I stared around, lost and confused. 2 beds lay broken among the row of 6 in the ward Lyra had allowed me to stay in. I thought about what to do but came up empty. I was in deep shit. Sure, I might have fucked her into nirvana, but I'd still gone ahead and demolished 2 beds in her clinic. This was going to be an infrastructure problem. And the cause of it. She sat there, one leg crossed over the other, glaring at me with burning red eyes. Cassandra was the most beautiful woman I'd seen in 2 worlds. Her skin was blanched, every feature of her face carved to ridicule perfection. Her lips were small and red as if she'd glossed them with the blood of slaughter. Her beauty was enchanting and in the same breath terrifying. It held power, a domineering air that made one shiver, like that of an empress who'd committed continental genocide. Then there was her graceful figure, full, round breasts pulled tight against her strange metal armor, curvy hips as she sat with one leg folded over the other. Cassandra had to have been sculpted. She was a beauty that never should have existed. You're leering, her voice was sharp with a low-level hoarseness beneath that sharpness. Woman, have you looked into a mirror? I exhaled and fixed her with a stern glare. You broke the bed. She glanced at the bed behind me, then the one she was currently sitting on. That one was still in manageable condition, although it seemed to strain beneath her weight. She looked back at me, confusion written across her face, as if asking what she was supposed to do about that. Well, you have to pay, my eyes widened. Wait, don't tell me you expect that I'll be paying for the bed. A foxy smile climbed her face. Aren't you my summoner, the one who calls the shots? A sharp sting pierced my soul in that moment. My palm met my face. The realization of the suffering Cassandra would put me through translated into physical pain. It was evident just looking at her, that face of beauty, arrogance, destruction, wickedness. The full package, the worst bitch any unlucky bastard could subscribe to. And here I was thinking I'd struck the jackpot. The only things good about her are her body and strength. It seems I'll need to teach you some things. A scoff left her mouth immediately. She raised her chin. You teach me? I single-handedly killed 50,000 men in one night. What are you going to teach me, weakling? I inhaled deeply, reciting patience over and over again to keep from losing my mind and tamming her with a few rounds. Sex was a very useful instrument of domination, after all. I folded my arms and exhaled. That's right, because of you my entire life went to shit. What exactly are you, and what did you do that the old priestly man was calling you a disaster and deemed me a heretic on sight? Her gaze sharpened, studying me with actual seriousness for the first time. What era are we currently in? Luckily, these were things Knight Flint had shared with me on the side. 8112 AC, and for bonus points, this is the Kingdom of Aetheris. A delicate frown creased her brows. 8112, Kingdom of Aetheris, what are those? How many years since the destruction of the Jarek Empire? How many years since the century of broken thrones? I blinked. The only thing Knight Flint had told me was that AC stood for After Calamity, marking the major calamity wars that had spawned across all 7 continents of Eildrim and birthed a new era. All this Jarek Empire and broken thrones business she was talking about, I had no idea who broke whose throne. Her eyes darkened, boring into me. Why are you looking at me like a fool? Answer the question, weakling master. Hey, I'm also not from this world, okay? I was summoned here just like you, then branded weak the next minute. Worse, I summoned you and was immediately imprisoned for it. Easy, I'm just going to blame her for all my bad luck. The room went silent for a beat. She looked down, seeming to sink into deep thought. The Church of Eternal Light, are they the ones responsible for the summoning? I narrowed my eyes as that name rang a bell. Then I remembered what Kai had told me earlier this morning. Yes, them. Cassandra's gaze went black. It seems they managed to rise from the rubble yet again, she muttered to herself, her voice tightening with anger. She snapped her head up. Summoner, stand, make haste, we must begin to rally our forces and lay siege to the Church of Eternal Light. She sprang to her feet but paused, thinking deeply about something. But if it is the Church of Eternal Light that I'm familiar with, they'll never be content with the backing of a mere kingdom. She locked eyes with me. Do you know of the empire that exists in this continent? I told you I just got summoned here literally yesterday, but yes, a friend told me the powerhouse of the Central Realm is the Solaris Empire. Her eyes widened instantly. That's it, that name alone says it all. That is the nation we must lay siege to this instant. We will need your army, we have to destroy those hypocritical beings. She stared at me. Where is your castle? I gulped and glanced around, returning my gaze to her with a smile. She followed my eyes, scanning the white and humorless interior of the clinic. This is your castle. I shook my head slightly. Well, not exactly. A friend let me crash at her clinic until I can scrape together money for my own place. You aren't listening to me, I practically got summoned here yesterday. Her face froze, the color drained from her cheeks. So you have no castle. A laugh escaped me. Cassie, I don't even have a roof over my head. Chapter 20, My Amazing Villainous Summon. You can't be weak and be poor. I scoffed, have you been to planet Earth? I jabbed my fingers at her. And isn't that rich coming from you, borrowing my soul and leeching off my spirit essence? A graceful frown crossed Cassie's beautiful features. That's the point of summoning, didn't you summon me because you wanted to destroy the continent? My jaw dropped. Destroy the continent, who, me? Wait a minute, maybe these people weren't selling things short, is this woman really a weapon of disaster? I blinked several times, staring at Cassie, who still seemed devastated by the fact that I had no castle and was broke. The door burst open, snapping our attention toward it. I moved to dispel Tyrant Empress but froze when I saw Lyra. I cursed myself silently. Her smile vanished the moment she stepped inside. The paper bag slipped from her hand and hit the floor. Her eyes widened, disbelief flashing across her face before twisting into anger. You! I straightened and turned to her. I swear it's not what you think, it was all her fault. I threw the criminal under the bus without hesitation and she didn't even need to bribe me. Lyra froze, stunned, confused, her gaze locked on the regal, crimson-haired lady who sat elegantly on the bed, flipping her flowing hair and folding her arms beneath her breasts. Then she looked at me. What fault? How can you be so shameless? I shook my head. I know I'm shameless, but I'm serious, this isn't about that. She literally swung me through the air and slammed me onto it. It's all her fault it's broken like this. Lyra's expression went blank as she blinked, trying to process my words. Then her gaze shifted to the shattered bed behind me. A frown settled on her brow, and her face erupted in rage. Moments later, I found myself kneeling before Lyra in the most ridiculous position. Tyrant Empress had been dispelled due to low essence. Lyra towered over me with a stern glare. She inhaled deeply. So that lady, she's your summon. I nodded. I'm not sure, but I think Lyra misunderstood the situation when she first walked in. Seeing Cassie sitting there, legs crossed, looking so composed, Lyra apparently had thought I'd brought another woman to her clinic for sex right after we'd just been together. She looked a little embarrassed now that she understood, but more than that, she was shocked and in disbelief that Cassie was my spirit summon. Even after watching me dispel her, she still struggled to accept it. What fortitude is she? I lowered my head, hesitating. She sensed it immediately. You don't have to tell me if you don't want to. No, it's all right. I decided Lyra was someone I could trust. Sure, she could betray me tomorrow for her own gain, I wouldn't blame her. I just have to survive another way and maybe kill her down the line. But right now I needed someone, and in my current situation Lyra seemed like the best option. Cassie's fortitude is 8.2. Her eyes widened and her mouth formed an O. Wait, fortitude 8.2, that's not possible. I shrugged. I don't know what's possible given that I'm new to this world, but it's true. Cassie can talk and do anything she wants. She can even hit me and stuff, though I think there's a limit to what she can do. Lyra exhaled sharply, still reeling from shock. Boy, you have no idea. I read a lot of ancient history for my research. I came across postulated theories about high fortitude spirits and what they might be capable of. Some even say a 10 fortitude could exist independent of their summoner's spirit essence and soul. But of course these are all just speculations, since ranks are fixed, essence pools cannot be expanded, and therefore there's a fixed dependency that cannot be broken. A fortitude 10 simply cannot exist. She paused, catching herself. Crap, I'm sorry, I got a little too excited. This is just, she exhaled, shaking her head in disbelief. Marvelous. Her eyes met mine. Having a fortitude 8.2 spirit summon is just insane. A smug grin crossed my face. Wait till you find out her tier. Lyra paused, tilting her head slightly. Considering that you're F rank, I'm guessing she's mortal tier, but still, that's incredible news. A fortitude 8.2 means you can actually hold your ground against D ranks. And there's that, Nirvana, it worked for you too, didn't it? She rushed through her words with such excitement that I couldn't find an opening to tell her, no, Cassie is definitely not mortal tier. I exhaled, exhaustion seeping through. It's not like that. My expression made her stop mid-thought. She stared at me. What do you mean? I exhaled again, stood up, and placed a hand on her shoulder. Don't faint, okay? A slight frown crossed her face as I said to her. Cassie is Calamity tier. Her brows knitted together intensely, and she looked at me with something close to hostility. I stepped back, hands raised in defense. No, for real, I've got no reason to lie. She's a Calamity tier spirit summon called the Tyrant Empress. I think she's also called the Blood Conqueror. Her eyes widened at this point, they might as well pop out of their sockets. The color drained from her face, leaving her pale. Fear washed over her features. You summoned a disaster. As she said that, a certain man's scornful voice echoed in my head. He wasn't exaggerating. My expression hardened. Lyra, I need you to explain what you mean. Please, I have to understand this. Chapter 21, The Blood Conqueror. Lyra and I sat on the bed beside the one I'd broken. This bed held memories. I fought to suppress the flashbacks. After all, only hours had passed. So here's what you need to know. Several events across history contributed to the construction of our calendar, how times and seasons of the past are dated. Most of these events are considered mythical these days, they never happened, but for some the signs are there. She paused. My opinion, the Church of Eternal Light went to great lengths to use their propaganda to bury those truths. Events like the Calamity Wars, devastating conflicts across all 7 continents that marked the fall of the Jarek Empire, the powerhouse of the Central Realm. From its ruins with what remained of the Eternal Light Church, the Solaris Empire rose. The force behind the Empire's destruction, a woman known as the Blood Conqueror. She once been the second empress of the Jarek Empire. She killed her husband, slaughtered all her stepchildren, destroyed nobles, and burned the church and empire to ash. All for vengeance. My heart hammered against my ribs as she spoke. Even before this, she was known as the Tyrant Empress, a devastating war maiden, a force before whom men bowed their heads in terror. She risen from slave to the strongest knight in the Jarek Empire. After the first empress's death, the emperor married her to win the soldiers' loyalty and bolster the empire's military strength, which the Eternal Light Church was siphoning away. I'm unsure what happened. Different books offer different perspectives. Some say she wanted to avenge her family. Others claim politics drove her mad and use it to justify why women should never enter the court. Various speculations exist. No one ever reached a conclusion. I locked eyes with her. What about the church? What did they say? Her gaze met mine. They called her a member of the demon cult, said they cultivated her since childhood and placed her strategically. It was an easy way to explain her extraordinary talent and strength, even though she was no summoner. I rubbed my chin, processing her words. Tyrant Empress. Regardless of the murky reasons behind her actions, the deeds themselves were crystal clear, and the Lodestar had branded her a villainess. This had to be true. I need to be more careful around her. I'd never realized she was such a terrifying force, and I'd tried to have sex with her. Now, thinking about that moment with her history laid bare, something twisted inside me, a dark desire to truly claim her, to make her get addicted to my dick. Damn it, am I twisted? I shoved the thoughts aside, refocusing. Questions swirled through my mind, but Lyra continued. Many other events mirror this. The Calamity Wars alone. I can count 5 disasters that wrecked kingdoms. No continent escaped calamitous damage, from catastrophic spirit beasts spawning from S-rank gates to individuals with terrifying abilities tearing the world apart piece by piece. It all consolidated into an era of calamity. Before that came the era of broken thrones, and I remember villainesses who built their reputations by razing kingdoms and burning millions alive. The era of broken thrones was even worse, a time when nations warred endlessly against each other. She exhaled, her eyes bright with excitement, her smile satisfied. It's been a while since I went through the history books. If you want to know these things, you should find a golden library. I don't think any exist here in Ethermere. You'd have to reach Willowsvale. That'll be a long journey. My frown deepened as I mulled over her words. What is the golden library, though? Shouldn't there be history books at Luminaris Academy? Lyra leaned back and rolled her eyes. Luminaris Academy was created by the Eternal Light Church for the sole purpose of cultivating summoners. Everything around you is designed to control spirit summoners toward an expected end. I studied her, suspicion hardening my voice. Does that mean I have every reason to be suspicious of you right now? A deep frown creased Lyra's brow. I wouldn't need to fuck you to deceive you. Do you take me for a cheap slut who throws her body around to control people, men nonetheless? Heat flushed my face. I'm sorry, I didn't mean it that way. Not sure what to say, I clasped my hands together and exhaled. It's easy to overlook because of all the excitement, shock, and surprises in the past 24 hours, but I can't go home. I'm stuck in a strange world with people who could deem me worthy of killing for any justifiable reason. I don't know who to trust, it's overwhelming. I might have hated my life on Earth, but I don't know if this is better. She folded her arms, casting me a brief, pitying look before turning away, determination flashing in her eyes. It's not complicated. You might be F-rank, but you have leverage no one else does. You summoned one of the greatest villainesses who wrecked an entire empire. Just get stronger, become so powerful that the idea of killing you seems absurd and laughable. The Blood Conqueror made the church tremble once. You can do it again to protect yourself and find your way home. A smile tugged at my lips and I straightened. To protect myself. That was valid. Finding my way home, I didn't want false hope. I preferred tackling one problem at a time. For now, I needed to stay alive, and to stay alive, I needed to get stronger. To become stronger, I needed to control another villainess and gain her attributes, perhaps something combat-related. However, for that to be possible, I'd most likely need to expand my spirit plane. There was only one way I suspected this could happen. Zax. I have to fuck Cassie to get stronger. Author's note, another info dump. I apologize. We are dealing with a very big world, rich in a lot of things. History is just one of them. I have to hijack chances like this to do some little exposition so we all done get lost when the story starts flying around. Thanks for reading till the end. If you can see some potential in this book, please add to your library. Wink. Chapter 22, Spirit Classes. After everything was said and done, I ate. Food is very important. Please don't play with food. May the good Lord bless you. Lyra offered to provide me with a better and more conducive environment, also known as her place, but I politely turned her down. We both knew how we'd turn out by daylight. The thought made my mouth water, but I needed to get my head in the game and think hard about what to do. And as much as I valued sex with Lyra, I had to prioritize fucking Cassie, which definitely wouldn't come easily. I stayed up most of the night thinking about what to do and how to go about it. First, I needed a broader scope of this world. Right now, my entire understanding of it was still limited. I needed to find information, and no amount of information was going to be enough. Second, I needed to survive every day. I wasn't the kind of dude who loved to pretend to be weak just to avoid notice. True, I didn't like the attention, but whether you were weak or strong, you'd get an end of the stick. Your position just determined which end. And if push came to shove, I wanted the better end. So not only did I need to survive, I needed to stake my place and stake it loudly, which would also mean I needed to be ready to deal with the repercussions. Which brought me back to the topic of fucking Cassandra and getting another summon. For now, that seemed to be the only way. The attributes I gained from Cassie worked more like buffs and debuffs. There was no active skill like super strength, nothing like that damn Derek had. The memory of his punch burned through my thoughts. I was definitely going to return the gesture. Then came the next day, my jaw clenched as the realization hit. These motherfuckers didn't come to visit me at the clinic. We were all lined up on the training ground of the academy, each facing what the instructor from yesterday had called a training golem. The golem loomed over me, an assemblage of stones that looked glued together. The stones had damage resistance, and even if they shattered, they could simply rearrange themselves. We stood in rows and columns, each person in front of their training golem. I stood at the back right corner. The morning sun was both annoying and enjoyable, streaming into my eyes from behind. Its warm rays sank into my jet-black hair that flowed just above my eyes. My eyes were half-lidded, naturally so, with dark circles I really had no idea how to get rid of. A lot of people had said that I looked like the kind of person who was too laid back about life. I didn't believe them, though. Contrary to that, I was the person who cared the most. Today, the square-faced man's voice cracked across the field. He looked more energetic today than yesterday. You all will be learning a very important aspect of combat. Excitement rippled across everyone's faces. I was looking forward to it too, but more focused on Derek, who suddenly didn't give a damn about me. Considering how things went down yesterday, I naturally expected him to come at me with more bad blood, but he'd been surprisingly quiet and hadn't even spared me a scornful glare. There are 7 classes and every spirit falls under either one or two of these classes. It doesn't matter whether heroic spirits or regular spirits. He paced with his hands behind his back, his gaze sweeping left and right as his powerful voice carried across the distance. Vanguard, Striker, Commander, Caster, Support, Specialist, and Duelist, these are the 7 spirit classes that we have. He raised a finger and continued. Now, you lacklusters don't go thinking you have it figured out already. Classes can be more daunting than you think. They form your role in battle. Have a good grasp of your heroic spirits class and it'll be a great boon to you. Fuck it up, dampen your potential with stupidity and ignorance and you'll shine like a turd in a sewer. This man. I wasn't going to deny it, he looked perpetually enraged by our existence. There was an unnecessary harshness with which he delivered every single point. His gaze swept across the entire field once more, then he walked back to the front, his voice booming. What is the purpose of a vanguard? The words barely left his mouth before he answered himself. To hold the line, he reached the front. You'll find yourself with attributes focused on damage absorption, some that'll force your enemies to attack you, status immunity attributes and shield attributes. His gaze swept over a few people, Derek included. The advantage of this class is their incredible durability. They can protect their teammates better, serving as a damage absorption shield for other members of the team to fulfill their roles. The disadvantages, however, are their low damage output and slow movement. Which leads us to the next class, the Striker class. Strikers are the reverse of Vanguards. They deal maximum damage and eliminate priority targets. If your spirit is a Striker class, you'll find yourself with attributes that raise your critical damage chances, combat styles that prioritize heavy damage. Their strength, of course, is high burst damage, that ability to eliminate targets quickly, while their weakness is their fragility. They require protection, which is why a Vanguard and a Striker are 2 parts of a perfect whole. Now imagine having a spirit that's a hybrid of both classes. His last comment sent murmurs rippling through my classmates. No doubt it would be overkill, however, the instructor wasn't done. Silence, the air vibrated powerfully. All voices dropped to nothing, fear quivering their hearts at the might of his voice alone. The third class is the Commander class. This class is all about control. They're the hidden masterminds of the battlefield. Their role is to control the battlefield. Being a Commander class means having abilities that deal with tactical superiority. You can buff your allies or debuff your enemies, even summon phantom soldiers to fight on your behalf, depending on the kind of attribute your spirit gives you or your spirit's skills. Commanders are force multipliers built to dominate large-scale battles. That's their advantage. Their disadvantage is the fact that they require preparation and are extremely vulnerable alone. We don't always have all the time in the world to dance around in our minds while a battle rages before us. Bunch of wax. He folded his arms and continued talking about the Caster class, which I understood to be ranged damage dealers. They were built for long-range damage, elemental control, and area denial. Their advantages were devastating area damage, while their disadvantages were also fragility and the fact that their skills consumed more essence. Usually, though, according to what the instructor said, this wasn't a problem for S, A, or B rank summoners. Then there was the Support class, which was basically healers and full-time buffers, unlike the Commander class, which could be considered tactical buffers. Supports were the backbone of the team. They kept the team alive and enabled prolonged battles. Their weakness was their complete lack of offensive power. Then Specialist? These were mainly utilities with unconventional abilities that didn't fit other classes. There was no exact way to describe them, but their strength always lay in their unpredictability, which made them hard to counter. Their weakness was that they were highly situational and often unreliable. Then there were the duelists. These ones were devastating combat instruments built for single combat. They were 1v1 experts. While unstoppable in single combat, they were vulnerable to groups and in extreme cases could even lose buffs. The instructor, of course, also briefly mentioned hybrids, basically a spirit summon fitting into two classes, but he claimed that none of us fell into this category because our heroic spirits had been studied. His eyes seemed to drift toward my area somewhere around that statement. After that, he explained class synergies, which class was weak against which class, leaving it to us to use our brains to determine the best course of action. Afterwards, we were to battle to determine our classes and get used to our spirit summons. The moment he announced that, something cold prickled the back of my neck. I turned to my left, only to see Derek grinning at me, malevolent light gleaming in his eyes. This bastard, was this what he'd been waiting for? Chapter 23, Battle Between Low Rankers. Everyone gave space, standing at the edges of the training ground. The man stood before us holding a book and scrutinizing it. Ethan Cobwebs. A reasonably fat boy with rough dark brown hair framing his round face stepped out. Brown eyes caught the sunlight, the rays turning them nearly orange. Ethan Cobwebs was a guy the class often mocked due to his surname. I'd wondered what a unique name it was, but then figured his parents, perhaps his father, must have been inspired in ingenious ways. Either way, there was nothing cool about mocking other people's names. Not that the name didn't make you want to try. The class chuckled and laughed as he walked to the center. He seemed not to care, or he was just used to it. Declan O'Connor. Everyone's eyes silently tracked a broad-shouldered boy with tidy auburn hair and green eyes. Declan was another average student like I was, although I'd say even more average than me with his unimpressive looks. Despite that though, he was always immaculate, shoes polished, uniform crisp, unlike me who loved to tuck out and unbutton my jacket. He stepped onto the stage facing Ethan. Ethan's jaw tightened, his stance sharpening. The instructor gave Ethan a swift knock on the head. This is not a death battle. Stop looking at your opponent like you must win this. There is nothing to win or lose here, it is simply a test. Ethan recoiled, clutching his head. Yes, sir. The man held his gaze, then sighed, his expression shifting the next second as if asking himself why he even cared. He glanced at the book in his hands. The two of you are E ranks and each have an awakened tier heroic spirit, right? They both nodded. Yes, sir. Correct, sir. The man lowered the book, his arms dropping to his sides. Summon them and start fighting for the next 5 minutes. He turned to us. You lacklusters better keep your eyes sharp and open. You'll be telling me which class they fall into. I gulped and instinctively retreated behind the guy standing before me, bending slightly. The air thickened, yellow and blue sparks flew forward and merged to form the heroic spirits. Before Declan materialized a figure in silver-plated armor with a flowing blue half-cape and wrapped clothes. Ethan's heroic spirit was a slightly hunched figure in tattered dark armor that seemed completely fused with its body. It had heavy plated gauntlets on its bestial arms, longer than normal, and a shredded dirty yellow cloak that blended with its mane. The armor showed signs of self-inflicted damage, as if the heroic spirit itself had tried to claw it off. Both locked eyes, tension crackling between them. Declan's heroic spirit extended its hands, summoning an 8-foot-long halberd with a crescent moon blade. Ethan's spirit wielded a jagged black spear in one hand. The square-faced instructor glanced at them, then commanded them to start. Both were silent for a moment, then their heroic spirits shot at each other. A terrifying ring of metal exploded across the field. Sand kicked up and scattered in our direction as the wind surged. This was just a clash between awakened tier summons, and yet the force alone couldn't be ignored. Or is it because they are heroic spirits? It had to be. After all, there was a clear distinction between heroic spirits and other spirits. As far as we knew, we were like gold in this land. Just look at how E ranks fought like they could single-handedly demolish a city. The clash of metal echoed again as both spirits disengaged, skidding backward through the sand. Declan's knight raised its halberd in a defensive stance, the crescent blade catching sunlight. Ethan's summon circled left, its hunched posture making it look like a predator stalking prey. Interesting, I muttered, keeping my voice low. The contrast was already obvious, one fought with discipline, the other with raw aggression. Ethan's spirit lunged first, the jagged spear whistling through the air in a vicious arc. But instead of a single strike, it followed with a rapid combination thrust, slash, overhead smash, each attack aimed for vital points with brutal efficiency. High damage output, relentless offense. Declan's knight absorbed the first two strikes on its halberd's shaft, then pivoted, using the weapon's length to create distance. The third strike, that overhead smash, it caught on the flat of the crescent blade, redirecting the force into the ground. Defensive positioning, using reach advantage. There, someone whispered nearby, "Did you see that redirect?" The spirits reset. This time, Declan's knight pressed forward with measured strikes, testing probes rather than committed attacks. The halberd swept in wide arcs, controlling space, forcing Ethan's spirit to respect the reach. But Ethan's spirit didn't retreat. Instead, it ducked under a horizontal slash and closed the distance, getting inside the halberd's optimal range. At close quarters, the long spear became a bludgeon and those bestial gauntlets became weapons themselves. A claw swipe left a shower of sparks across the knight's pauldron. "Shit," I breathed, "that was smart. Strikers excel at closing distance to vulnerable targets." The knight responded by slamming its armored elbow into the bestial spirit's chest, creating separation, then immediately repositioned, rotating to maintain optimal spacing. Never overextending, always ready to defend. The pattern repeated. Ethan's spirit would find an opening and explode with devastating combinations, each strike carrying enough force to dent stone. But Declan's knight weathered them, positioned correctly, and controlled the battlefield's geometry. 3 minutes passed. Both spirits showed signs of wear. The knight's armor had fresh dents and scratches, while the bestial spirit's movements had slowed fractionally, its aggressive lunges costing stamina. "Time running out," someone murmured. As if sensing the same thing, both summoners pushed harder. Ethan's face twisted with concentration as his spirit abandoned defense entirely, becoming a whirlwind of strikes. The spear blurred, gauntlets flashed, raw power hammering against the knight's guard. But Declan didn't break. His knight planted its feet, halberd held in an iron guard position, and simply endured. Each impact was absorbed, redirected, or deflected. The knight gave ground grudgingly, step by step, but never fell. Ethan's summon suddenly exploded forward, its movement faster but more irrational. Declan was forced into pure defense, though his summon was fast enough to keep up. Ethan's summon fought like a beast at times and like a cunning human at others, using claws to rake across just to catch the knight off guard. But the knight was sharp-witted and Declan was incredibly focused. It seemed like the boy knew exactly what to do and what not to do. Even as Ethan increased the packing, he didn't carelessly fall into it. As Ethan's summon came at him again, he sidestepped with a powerful spin that redirected the energy and slammed his halberd into the spirit's side, causing it to tumble away. But it flipped through the air and quickly dug its claws into the ground to stop itself from reeling further. "Time," the instructor's voice cracked across the field. Both spirits froze mid-movement. Ethan dropped to his knee, panting. Declan also exhaled, standing strong and burning with resolve, though fatigue was evident in his eyes. The instructor surveyed the field, then turned to us with that perpetually irritated expression. "Well, what classes did you just witness? Don't all speak at once, you brain-dead lacklusters." A hand shot up one of the girls from the front row. "Ethan's spirit is a striker, sir. High damage output, aggressive offense, eliminates targets quickly." "Correct," the instructor's gaze swept across the rest of us, "and the weakness." "Fragility," I found myself saying, louder than intended. Shit. He abandoned defense completely at the end. Against a less durable opponent he'd win, but against someone who can tank the damage. The instructor's eyes found me in the back, and for a terrible moment I thought I'd drawn the exact attention I was trying to avoid. But he just nodded curtly. "Right, O'Connor's spirit." "Vanguard class," a boy called out. Defensive positioning, durability, controlled the engagement distance, protected himself effectively. "And learned the hard lesson of the Vanguard weakness," the instructor added with something almost resembling approval. "Low damage output. He couldn't capitalize on openings because he lacks the burst damage to end fights quickly, so he had to rely on momentum for his attacks to carry weight. So many counter opportunities, this battle should have ended the moment it started. Both summoners are inexperienced too. Just because your spirits are naturally combat-oriented doesn't mean you should leave it all to them. Communicate commands mentally and properly to generate the best outcomes. And you are summoners, do you think that gives you the right to stand leisurely and wait for your spirits to finish it all? You think these damn wild spirits are going to wait around for you? They attack you as much as they attack your spirits. You must learn to work together. Keep your focus, use your limbs and brain to turn the tide of the battle at all costs. Ethan and Declan both nodded, absorbing the critique. Their spirits dissipated back into sparks of essence. This is why, the instructor continued, voice rising, you need to understand class dynamics, know your strengths, know your weaknesses, and for the love of whatever gods you pray to, know your enemies too. He slammed the book shut. Cobwebs, O'Connor, adequate performance, returned to the line. Both students trudged back, Ethan looking frustrated despite the decent showing, Declan quietly satisfied. The instructor opened the book again and my stomach dropped as his finger traced down the list of names. This was it. Any second now he'd call me, pair me with Derek and Una Castellan. My head snapped up. Una stepped forward with fluid grace, her expression unreadable. The morning sun caught her features and I noticed several guys tracking her movement a bit too intently. Versus, the instructor's eyes gleamed with something unpleasant. Derek Ashford. My blood went cold. Derek's grin was savage as he stepped onto the field. This'll be fun. But he wasn't looking at Una. He was looking directly at me. And suddenly I understood. This wasn't about Lyra at all. This was Derek sending a message showing me exactly what I'd be facing when my turn came. The bastard wanted me to watch and despair. I swallowed hard and forced myself to keep my expression neutral. Fine, let's see what you've got, asshole. Chapter 24, A Bully Can Actually Be Smart. Derek stood opposite Una, grinning with his hands in his pockets. Una's eyes narrowed as she studied him, then she cleared her throat. You heard the man, this is supposed to be a test, you better know how to treat a lady right. The instructor gave both of them a long look and barked. Begin. Immediately, Una placed her hand on her wide hips, jutting one hip out and blew a kiss before calling. Answer my call, Thorn King. I let loose a silent sigh, leave it to girls to make the whole thing cringe. Even Derek paused, staring at her with a stunned expression. She shot him a grimace. What? The priest said we can do this, anything that strengthens our bonds with our summons. Derek grinned maniacally. Strengthening bonds? Yeah, sure, go ahead and enter into cahoots with a spiritual being from over 1,000 years ago. As he spoke, blue and golden light was already materializing close to him. Standing beside Una was a 6-foot-tall figure draped in armor that seemed to have been crafted using dried wood and a mass of vines. The massive muscle man that Derek had for a summon appeared next to him. Derek clenched his fist as his summon finished materializing. Una was already commanding hers with a hand thrust forward. Her summon did not move, it merely folded its hands, and what looked like vines on its armor started to tear themselves out and shoot at Derek, who was already barreling toward Una's Thorn King. A wide grin split Una's face. You're going to get badly injured because you underestimated me and rushed in without thinking. However, Derek merely smirked as he ran forward to meet the approaching vine arrows. She panicked, she didn't want to accidentally kill her classmate, but the attack had been released. Her eyes suddenly flared with surprise as she saw something strange. Derek's summon was approaching from behind but not fast enough. Then the next moment Derek exclaimed, "Exchange!" And he switched positions with his summon. The vine arrows bombarded the impenetrable armor of the steel colossus he had for a summon. The summon didn't even seem to pay attention and merely took a knee and bent, letting Derek, running from behind, use it as a platform to cover the distance in one powerful leap. Una's eyes widened. You can do that. Before she could right herself to do anything, Derek crashed down on her summon with a devastating knee drop, smashing it to the ground. As he dropped, he rolled and sprang up with a punch straight to her gut, sending her hurtling backward to roll across the ground. In less than 1 minute, the battle was over. Derek then flashed a wicked grin at me and dragged his thumb across his neck. To be honest, Derek was a B rank, which meant he had a hero tier summon. It would have been disappointing if he wasn't strong, but never did I expect that the bastard was going to be smart too. The instructor's voice cut through the stunned silence. So, what did you lacklusters just witness, or are you all too busy being impressed by flashy movements to actually learn anything? Yuna was still on the ground, clutching her stomach and gasping for air. Derek stood there with that shit-eating grin plastered across his face, not even breathing hard. His summon hadn't moved from where it took a knee, completely undamaged despite the barrage of vine arrows, and Yuna's summon had returned back to the embrace of her soul. A hand shot up. Maxwell, a lean guy with sharp features and wire-frame glasses that caught the sunlight. His black hair was slicked back, giving him that pretentious scholar look. Sir, Derek's summon is clearly a Vanguard class. High defensive capabilities, damage absorption, the ability to serve as a shield for the summoner, but Derek himself utilized a mobility-based attribute too. Wrong, the instructor cut him off flatly. Maxwell blinked, his hand still raised like he was frozen mid-explanation. What? You're half right, which makes you completely wrong. Anyone else want to embarrass themselves, or should I just assume you're all as dense as Castellan over there? He jabbed a thumb toward where Yuna laid. Another hand went up, this one belonging to Alina, a girl with long chestnut hair tied in a high ponytail. She had this calm, analytical air about her, the type who actually paid attention in lectures instead of daydreaming. Derek's spirit is a Vanguard Striker hybrid, she said evenly. The summon itself has Vanguard properties, high defense, able to tank damage, but Derek used it tactically like a striker would use terrain. The exchange ability let him bypass Yuna's range advantage and close distance instantly. That's striker methodology, eliminate the target before they can establish control. The instructor's expression shifted fractionally, still irritated but less so. Better, the good thing about having heroic spirits is the fact that they can belong to more than one class. In unique cases, the attributes themselves can make up for the weakness they have as a vanguard. Ashford's spirit is hero tier, it probably granted him attributes that boosted his strength and durability, and gave him combat knowledge. The summon body serves as an impenetrable wall, while Ashford himself becomes the damage dealer, using his summon's defensive capabilities to create aggressive openings. He turned his glare on Maxwell. This is why I said you were wrong. You saw the Vanguard traits and stopped thinking. Hybrids are dangerous because they don't follow the limitations you expect. Maxwell flushed, lowering his hand and looking away. I stood there in the back, half hidden, processing what I'd just seen. Derek hadn't just won, he'd dominated. Yuna never had a chance to establish her strategy. That exchange ability was basically a free gap closer, and with his summon serving as both shield and springboard. Fuck. The tactical implications made my stomach churn. Derek could engage at will, disengage at will, and his summon was durable enough to weather anything thrown at it while he positioned himself for the kill. And that was just one ability. Who knew what else that hero-tier summon had in its arsenal? Castellan, the instructor's voice snapped toward Yuna, who was finally struggling to her feet, still wincing. Your mistake. Yuna grimaced, one hand still on her stomach. I didn't account for his mobility. I thought if I kept him at range with Thorn King's vine attacks I could control the engagement, but you assumed he'd play by support class rules, the instructor finished. You saw a big, slow, armored summon and thought Vanguard no threat to me at range. Then Ashford used you as the threat vector instead of his spirit, classic failure of tactical assessment. He turned to Derek. Ashford, what's your spirit's class? Derek's grin widened. Vanguard Striker hybrid, sir. Colossus can tank anything and I get to dance around hitting weak points. And you're ranked? B rank, sir. Murmurs rippled through the class. Seeing a B rank in action made them truly realize how vast the distance between ranks are. Plus, Derek had a hero-tier spirit, which meant better attributes, stronger abilities, and enough essence to actually use them without collapsing like Ethan and Declan had. The instructor nodded curtly. Adequate explanation. Return to the line. Castellan, get yourself to the infirmary before you vomit on my training field. Yuna nodded weakly and stumbled toward the edge of the grounds, one of her friends rushing over to help support her. Derek, meanwhile, strutted back to his position with that same savage grin, but not before making eye contact with me one more time. He mouthed two words, "You're next." I felt my jaw clench. Every instinct screamed at me to look away, to avoid the confrontation brewing in his eyes, but I held his gaze and then rolled my eyes, looking away the next moment. Chapter 25, We are supposed to be mortal tier, you can't go around wrecking an instructor. After Derek and Eunice fight, the rest of the battles blazed through, giving me the chance to observe summons and catalog abilities. Of all of them, four demanded my attention: Maxwell's Silent Guardian, Alina's Storm Queen, Kai's Golden Emperor, and a C-rank girl named Priscilla, who'd somehow managed to summon a hero-tier heroic spirit despite her rank limiting her to champion tier. As for Maxwell, Alina, and Kai, judging whether Cassie could defeat their summons proved impossible. They were monsters. And Cassie, by my judgment thus far, was a Commander-Striker hybrid, though she leaned heavily toward Commander and only qualified as a Striker because of her devastating combat prowess. That's all I'd seen her do, actually. Only my attributes convinced me she had to be Commander class. Cade Marlowe. My heart thumped powerfully as the instructor called my name. As I stepped out of the row, mutters and murmurs rippled through the crowd, but I shoved them aside and waited for the next name. It didn't come. I stood in the center of the field, staring at the instructor. The man returned my gaze with indifference, his face carved from square stone, strong, intimidating, utterly unreadable. Impossible to tell what thoughts lurked behind those downturned eyes. He closed the book in his hands with a loud clap. Around him, sparks shimmered to life. "I'm the one you'll be facing." My heart plummeted into my stomach. "What is your summons tier?" My hand found the back of my neck, pressing slightly. "Mortal tier, sir." A massive rhino-looking creature materialized beside him, though nothing like any rhino I'd seen on TV. Its body appeared carved from thick metal plates, eyes blazing with inner fire. "This is an elite tier spirit, that's right, I'm D-rank. A regular summoner, your types are icing on the cake, defeating me should be a walk in the park for you." A chuckle escaped my lips. "This guy." My hand remained pressed against my neck as I forced a polite, awkward smile. "I don't think so, sir, you're more experienced. Besides, this isn't supposed to be a win-or-lose battle, remember? So please, sir, let's not stray from the principles you set." The man looked like he wanted to use me to prove a point. At the same time, he was saving my ass by doing so. Better to lose to an instructor than a classmate, not that I thought many of them could beat Tyrant Empress. "Enough stalling, summon your spirit," he barked. I exhaled. Red sparks erupted around me, coalescing into the Tyrant Empress. She stood beside me, impossibly tall and graceful. I felt like a shadow next to her, her elegant curves, her malevolent helmet, everything about her both imposing and terrifying. Murmurs swelled as soon as she appeared. She turned her head toward me. Somehow, through that covered helmet, I felt disgust and disapproval radiating from her gaze. I exhaled, refocusing on the instructor. He'd vanished. My eyes widened. "He moved. You left yourself wide open." The voice came from my side. The man had closed the distance in a blur, his hand cocked back, fist hurtling toward me. I was too slow, far too slow to react. But as his knuckles neared, a hand seized my collar and yanked me clear, the other catching his fist mid-strike. Shock flickered across the instructor's face, then it melted into a grin. "Oh, smart move, commanding your summon to compensate for your weakness and lack of speed." Except I hadn't commanded anything, this was all Cassie. His grin widened, "But don't tell me you forgot about my summon." Right at where Cassie yanked me towards the metal rhino like a rolling mass of rock. Suddenly, Cassie tore an impossible twirl, smashing her leg against the rhino's charging bulk. The impact rang out like a thunderclap. The creature, easily 3 tons of animated metal and fury, stopped. Its front legs buckled, and for a surreal moment, the massive spirit teetered, suspended in the physics-defying aftermath of Cassie's strike. Then it toppled sideways with an earth-shaking crash. Immediately, silence poured onto the training ground. I hung there in her grip, collar bunched in her fist, boots barely scraping ground. My brain struggled to process what I just witnessed. That thing had been a charging elite-tier spirit, and she'd stopped it with a kick. She didn't even have to use a sword, others were doing so. Impossible, someone breathed from the crowd. The instructor's grin had vanished, his eyes narrowed, flicking between his down summon and Cassie. Mortal tear, you said. I swallowed, yes sir. Cassie released my collar. I stumbled forward a step, catching my balance while she remained perfectly still, a statue of contempt carved from malice and grace. She hadn't even looked at me when she'd saved my ass. All her attention was fixed on the instructor. The rhino lumbered back to its feet, huffing. Embers dripped from its nostrils. Its master cracked his knuckles, rolling his shoulders. Interesting, his stance shifted, weight dropping lower. Very interesting, that strength, those reflexes. Either you're lying about her tier or you're just a really good summoner. I'm guessing the later since you are F rank. He blurred again. This time he wasn't targeting me. He went straight for Cassie, closing the distance in a blink, fist already in motion. A feint, his body twisted mid-strike, leg sweeping low instead. Cassie didn't move. The kick connected with her shin. I heard the impact, saw the instructor's face contort, not in satisfaction but in pain. What? Cassie's hand shot out, fingers closing around his throat. She lifted him off the ground one-handed, her movements economical, almost bored. The instructor clawed at her grip, eyes bulging, but she held him like he weighed nothing. Cassie, I barked, don't kill him. For a heartbeat she didn't respond. Then, with what felt like deliberate insolence, she tossed him aside. He hit the ground hard, rolled, and came up gasping. The rhino charged again, straight at her this time. Flames wreathed its horn, metal plates glowing cherry red. A proper elite-tier attack, the kind that could punch through reinforced walls. Cassie still hadn't moved from her spot. Cassie! She pivoted on one heel, the movement was minimal, precise. Her fist met the rhino's horn. The shockwave knocked me backward. I threw up an arm to shield my face as debris and sparks exploded outward. When I looked again, the rhino was skidding across the field, gouging deep furrows in the packed earth. Its horn, that massive, superheated lance, had a visible dent where Cassie's knuckles had connected. My mouth went dry. Around us, the arena had gone deathly quiet. Even the whispers had stopped. Damn it, damn it, damn it, damn it, we are supposed to be Cassie. Chapter 26, The Weak Summoner with No Motivation Whatsoever. The instructor pushed himself up slowly, breathing hard. Blood dripped from his split lip. He stared at Cassie, then at me, then back at Cassie. Something shifted in his expression, calculation replacing shock. Mortal tear, he said, spitting blood. You actually expect me to believe that? I don't care what you believe, sir. My voice came out steadier than I felt. That's what she is. He straightened, glancing briefly at his summon before locking eyes with me again. So, your summon is a striker class. I gave him an obedient look, thinking to myself, you'd be shocked. For now, everyone seemed fooled by Cassie's combat prowess, blind to the true extent of her ability. Still, I wanted to test it for myself. I knew what kind of effect Emperor's presence had, and watching Cassie use her own skills would help me understand it better. The instructor held my gaze. Good fight, Cade Marlowe. Plenty have underestimated you. You make up for your weakness with sharp instincts. He glanced at the rest of the class. I caught Derek's eye, raised my chin, and dragged my thumb across my throat with a cocky grin. The way his face twisted, satisfying. But at the end of the day, F rank is still F rank. You might have beaten a regular spirit summoner like me, but heroic spirit summoners like your classmates, they'll crush you. My victorious pride died instantly. What the hell? I wanted to argue, but that wasn't the point of this, so I swallowed it down and returned to the line while he continued the lecture. Days blurred together, academy courses expanded and actually proved useful. Everyone improved with their summons, including me, or at least on the surface. Cassie never caused problems when we were around others. She always acted in my best interest and showed incredible growth through combat lessons, which helped me too. I was slowly getting the hang of throwing punches and swinging swords. Still, compared to people who received combat attributes from their summons, I was like a mouse trying to race a horse. After 3 weeks of intense training, the announcement finally came, our first practical experience, Spirit Gates. Everything in the world was made of spirit. The ratio of spirit concentration ranged from negligible to overwhelming. Wild beasts had spirit essence too, but so little it didn't matter, they were just mundane animals. Spirit beasts, however, had high concentrations of spirit. That made them dangerous. Even space and time were created by spirit flowing from the Great Spirit River, and that connection was imperfect. Human activity strained the link. When it leaked, a gate opened, flooding a region with spirit and transforming even wild beasts into spirit beasts. Worse, stronger spirit beasts lived inside the gates. If they weren't stopped fast, entire regions could be overrun. This was why summoners were priceless in Eildrim. Regular summoners were valuable, but heroic spirit summoners, invaluable. Instructor Stanley left after telling us to prepare for gate exploration tomorrow. I grabbed my things and headed out. Surprisingly, Derek had been quiet since that day. He still made small threats, but when his minions tried to escalate, he shut them down. I figured there were reasons for that. First, the hierarchy was crystallizing. Kai sat at the top, his combat abilities skyrocketing. Right behind him was Alina, the girl with the Russian accent. She was becoming a monster in her own right. Maxwell and Priscilla had their own followings, though Maxwell usually dodged attention. All of them had fought multiple times, easily placing themselves above Derek. Except Priscilla, her battles with Derek always ended in a draw. That was one reason. The other was, "Do you live in the clinic?" Alina's voice cut through my thoughts, distinct like always. I turned and exhaled. She'd been talking to me more lately. "Yeah, I stay there." She stared at me, her brown eyes catching the sunlight streaming through the hall entrance. "I can put in a word with the priests, they'd find you something better." I grinned and laughed a little. "Thanks, Alina, but there's no place better than the clinic, premium service you guys don't get." She tilted her head, genuinely confused, almost made me laugh. "Premium service, the betting." I smiled and nodded. "Then I should come to the clinic too." My eyes shot wide. "No, absolutely not." She squinted at me. I forced my flustered heart to calm and rubbed the back of my neck. "I mean, you wouldn't want to sleep in a clinic anyway, did you need something?" Her gaze dropped for a moment. Her face was usually cold, but now unreadable, softer maybe. "Your summon interests me. I don't care if she's a disaster or whatever, but you having a female summon, like me having one, I thought we could be friends." Two girls appeared and grabbed her arms. "Alina, come on, stop wasting time on the F rank. Let's train, tomorrow's going to be rough." Alina frowned at the girl on her right. "I'd like to be left alone, the F rank and I have training plans." They both looked at me expectantly. "It's all right, I don't need training, I'd like to sleep first." I turned and walked away, their voices carried after me. "Alina, you should hang out more with us. You're always trying to hang out with him and he's so weak. No motivation to get stronger at all." "Exactly, listen to Charlotte, he's no good for you. We should form our own group. I have a supporter class and Rislai has a caster class. He also wants to join us." I let the rest of their conversation fade as I made my way to the clinic. The moment I stepped inside, the sharp scent of antiseptic and herbs washed over me, a smell that had somehow become comforting, almost like home. I paused just inside the doorway, breathing it in deeply before exhaling with relief. Lyra emerged from her office. "You're back." I flashed her a grin. "Nope, just leaving actually." She closed the distance between us in 3 steps. Then she was right there, close enough that I could feel the warmth radiating from her body as she pressed against my chest. Her hands slid down my torso, trailing deliberately toward my waistband. "I prepared something special for you," she murmured against my ear. My heart raced, exactly what I loved to hear. Her fingers found what they were looking for, grip firm on my dick as she kissed along my neck. Heat flooded through me, anticipation building with each touch. And then she pulled back. "Unfortunately, it'll have to wait." I exhaled sharply, frustration written all over my face. Right training. Chapter 27, A Mercenary Guild the Size of a Heart. We walked together to the academy gate. Lyra flashed her permit at the guards and explained I was assisting her at the clinic. They waved us through. With her around, everything ran smoother. She provided food, shelter, and an easy pass whenever I needed to move around. There was something about her that made people gravitate. The guys especially looked like they'd sell their souls for one night with her, but Lyra was a master at the game. She knew how to reel men in with one hand while building walls with the other. Sad to watch, really. Still, I couldn't help the pride that swelled in my chest watching her work a room, because I knew I was the one fucking her. And I was fucking her good, making her legs tremble every damn time. Each time we went at it, Lyra's eyes rolled back and her toes curled. She couldn't get enough. She begged to take me to her house more than once, but I refused. So now she stayed some nights at the clinic instead, sometimes waking me up with her mouth already on my dick. Sneaky, needy little fox. Cute, though. Thanks to our surprisingly rigorous activities this past week, I was closing in on the 1,000 mark on my spirit essence. Something told me hitting that number would mean something big. I could also maintain Cassie for a full hour now before burning out. Solid progress. As we stepped outside the academy, Lyra flagged down a carriage pulled by two brown horses speckled with white patches like scattered maps. White Monets, too. The Mercenary Guild. 2 passengers, 25 bronze. Lyra narrowed her eyes at the driver. All right, 20. The Mercenary Guild's way out of my usual route, and I'd have to pay Levi if the local soldiers spot me there. 15, and don't worry, no one's going to shake you down. She glanced at me, gesturing for me to climb on with her eyes. Sometimes the contrast hit me hard. In bed, she called me daddy and begged me to fuck her harder. Out here, she could easily pass for my auntie. I climbed aboard, and after a while we arrived at Soldiers Rest Avenue where the Mercenary Guild sat. As we crossed the street, Lyra paused, kissed a coin, and dropped it into a beggar's cap. She did that every time we came through. I was still waiting for the right moment to ask why, not that I was against charity, but this felt deeper. Inside, a girl with blue hair shot to her feet. Lyra, Cade, she beamed at us, eyes flicking to me as she swept a strand of hair behind her ear. Is Tress in? He's been waiting, Victoria's answer came instantly. Lyra gave her a quick nod and walked deeper inside. I followed, feeling Victoria's gaze drilling into my back until I disappeared through the doorway. The main hall buzzed with noise, ale sloshing, food being devoured, voices rising and falling in loose conversation. Busiest I'd seen it in 2 weeks. Bags cluttered every corner and the place looked even grimier than usual. Reading my confusion as we made for the kitchen, Lyra said, the main mercenary team just got back from a major job with the Merchant Guild. She picked up her pace. Just before we reached the kitchen, a loud, raspy voice cut through the noise. Lyra, your own uncle's been gone 10 months and you're not gonna say hello. I saw her bite her lip the second she heard him. She stopped, turned, plastered on a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Viren, stop calling yourself my uncle when you've tried slipping your hand up my skirt twice. Oh my goodness, Viren, you made it back this time. Guess I need to work harder on those prayer sessions. Damn, I miss them. But hey, who knows, next job might be your last. Stay hopeful. She winked, blew him a kiss, and spun back around. Her face went cold the instant she turned away. The others laughed and ripped into the large man with his thick brown beard. Lyra hates you more than anyone. I can't believe you tried to fuck her when you were friends with her father. What wouldn't you? You guys can fight over Lyra. Clara's all I need. Oh, eternal son, I want her to tie me up and beat me senseless. I shook my head at the kind of talk coming from men who just dragged themselves back from what looked like hell. We passed through the kitchen, greeting a few people. A young man tossed me a fresh roll of bread. Better fill your stomach before Triss whacks you around again today. I laughed, but it came out bitter. Still, I bit into the bread. A fat man stepped away from the table where he'd been butchering meat. He wiped his hands roughly on his apron and hurried to fetch a cup of water, catching us just before we left the kitchen. Here, boy, take this. Worrying about Sir Triss beating your ass is one thing, but you'll die faster choking on that dirty grunt's bread. I laughed shy. Why worry about dying, Mr. Baba? You always look out for me. Bring me water every time. He leaned in close, voice dropping to whisper. I hear Sir Tristan's in a foul mood today. You might catch extra licks. He leaned closer, relishing the gossip. Apparently, Clara sent one of his newest clients away. You get it, boy, he chuckled, jabbing me lightly in the ribs. Tristan was famous around here for his conquests, which made his overwhelming combat ability even more baffling. The man was an S-rank regular summoner and assistant guildmaster of the Mercenary Guild. I said goodbye to Baba and caught up with Lyra, who was already with Clara. Chestnut hair cascading down her back, tight leather ensemble, pants that clung to her hips like a second skin. Her breasts were smaller than Lyra, but she was taller with hips that demanded attention. The three of us walked down another hallway and emerged into the building's backyard. There, leaning against one of the beams supporting the upper floor, was a man with wet, wavy white hair and sharp blue eyes. Beard scruff shadowed his chin. One arm rested on the beam, and beneath it stood a woman in a green gown, cleavage threatening to spill out. Dark brown hair framed her face as she laughed and blushed at whatever he was saying. "Tristan, you incompetent fucker," Clara's voice cracked like a whip the second she spotted him. He flinched, turning with a tired frown. The woman looked at us confused. "Who are these people, Tris?" Lyra sighed. "Did he tell you he has an estate in Winston County?" The woman nodded quickly. "He told us the same thing. I've got 2 kids with him, she's got 3, and we've never seen this estate." Clara added, "Don't be foolish like." The woman's face darkened. She turned to Tristan, who let out a nervous chuckle. Brianna calmed down. "Slap." "Ooh," Clara and Lyra winced in unison like they'd felt it themselves. "You liar, I hate you." The woman stomped away, storming out through the back door. Tristan turned to us, throwing up his hands. "Really, Clara, twice in one day?" He shot Lyra a sharp glare. "You too." Lyra forced a smile, looking away. "Don't look at me," faced Clara. Clara folded her arms across her chest, waiting for him to actually do it. Instead, the bastard swung his gaze to me and grinned like a devil. "Otherworlder, summon that sexy heroic spirit of yours. Let me give you another thrashing so I can feel better." I muttered bitterly. "I'm F-rank, you shameless cunt. Why don't you pick on someone your own size?" Red sparks shimmered around me. Chapter 28, A Competent Summon, an Incompetent Summoner. Cassie stood, radiating pure malice. Opposite her, Tristan's summon waited, a massive, graceful quadruped that balanced raw physical power with supernatural elegance. Muscular haunches built for explosive leaps. A long, sinuous tail crackling with static electricity. Oversized paws tipped with retractable claws that left scorched marks on the sandy ground. 2 brilliant cyan orbs glowed with inner starlight. No visible pupils, just twin pools of electric blue light. The Tyrant Empress was as imposing as ever. Standing behind her, it took some effort to look away from her ass, especially when her armor flowed so smoothly it made everything jiggle like liquid metal. She didn't summon a sword like the first time. Actually, since we'd started this training, she'd refused to summon any weapon. We kept losing. Using her blade might give us an edge, but Cassie still refused. I stepped closer and looked up at her. "Don't be stubborn today, Cassie. Summon the damn sword." She looked down at me, her helmet scattered into sparks, revealing her ethereal face, glaring at me like I was an insect. "I refuse to use a weapon against this lowly beast. You're the incompetent one, not me." I lowered my head for a moment, exhaled, then looked back at her. "Yeah, but Stormwhite is a sovereign tier. He's beaten us, 7 times? Listen to me for once." Cassie's gaze remained stubborn. Tristan leaned against the massive body of his summon, scratching its chin. Stormwhite raised its head, growling as Tristan's fingers disappeared into the fur beneath its jaw. I exhaled. "Fine, will you at least listen to me? I have a plan." She turned her blood-red eyes on me. "So far, our main problem is Stormwhite's speed. He's strong enough to resist your intimidation cascade, and because Tristan is too damn smart, too quick to adapt, tactical dismantling is useless. He just uses Stormwhite in ways we can't predict. He's experienced. If you want to beat them, we have to work together." She hesitated, then turned to me. Meanwhile, at the corner of the yard near the support beams, Clara and Lyra stood talking. Clara stared at Cassie from her position, eyes unable to get enough of the magnificence before her. "She's so tall, and so, damn, I can't believe I'm looking at the Blood Conqueror in the flesh." She glanced at Lyra. "My mama made me fear her my whole life, told us she was carved from blood and drank from everyone who looked at her, including the Emperor and his children." Lyra chuckled. "Scary bedtime stories, our parents used them to keep us in check." She studied Cassie from behind. "She looks more like a goddess than a demoness to me." Clara's gaze lingered on Cassie's impressive figure. She has a body I'd kill for. I can't imagine what a menace she must have been in her era. Lyra frowned slightly. About that. Clara turned, her expression suddenly serious. I want to investigate the church. Clara's eyes widened. Are you insane? At that moment the battle began. Both fighters moved. Stormwhite vanished, pure lightning, and in less than a second struck Cassie, hurling her back with devastating force. But Cassie rolled midair, killed her momentum instantly, and landed clean. She pivoted sharp and darted sideways. Stormwhite stayed perpetually in lightning form. He could turn invisible if he wanted, and when he moved, it was like watching lightning flare for a split second. This had been the beast's ace, the reason he kept beating Cassie. It wasn't that he was stronger. He just had the advantage, massive speed combined with his summoner's wit and grit. Of course, that was all just an excuse. Truth was, I'd been getting my Cassie's ass handed to me on a silver platter labeled defeat. The first day, I'd underestimated Tristan when I heard he was an S-rank regular spirit summoner with a sovereign tier bestial spirit. I'd expected Cassie to dominate because she was calamity tier with a high fortitude. I was dead wrong. Stormwhite's abilities completely blindsided me. You're not forgetting about me, right? I flashed a dark grin, crossing my arms over my face. Of course not. Tristan's blow slammed into my guard, shattering it effortlessly. I staggered back but recovered fast. I knew his patterns by now. He'd come in for a follow-up. Just as predicted, he curved back and lunged. I smiled internally. This is it. I tilted sideways. Weave and counter. Another fist crashed into the side of my face from that exact angle. My ear screamed. Tristan laughed. What, you think I'd let you read me that easily just because we've sparred a few times? I staggered, losing my balance as my ear rang at a high pitch, but I couldn't waste time. For my plan with Cassie to work, I needed to do better. I lunged forward and unleashed Emperor's presence. Even someone like Tristan felt it. The oppressive aura slowed his movement, though he was still fast enough to bait me into traps and hit me from blind spots. But there was something I hadn't tried before. Emperor's presence created an oppressive aura that debuffed enemy movement, but I didn't think that was all it did. My theory, it didn't just debuff, it created an area of effect that amplified my other attributes, at least the ones tied to Tyrant Empress. The problem was, until now, I'd always used these abilities separately. Recently, after gaining more essence, I decided to test it. Honestly, it required serious focus, like holding a glass of water in one hand while reaching for another. One wrong move and the first glass falls. In this case, the attributes deactivates. As I struggled to maintain focus, Tristan gritted his teeth, lowering slightly but resisting the aura. Wind whipped around him. Within seconds, a sandstorm erupted around us. Another one of Stormwhite's skills, weather manipulation. He could create storms from nothing, and this was always Tristan's counter to Emperor's presence. The violent wind threw me off balance while he struck from shifting angles. The area effect massively boosted the duo's already devastating speed. I checked with my peripheral vision. Tyrant Empress was getting bombarded. She dodged some of the beast's strikes, but the increased speed had her struggling. A dark frown settled on her delicate features, making her look more demonic than ethereal. You've got no time to be distracted. Kneel, I roared with Warlord's command. My eyes blazed with crimson light. Just as Tristan lunged from behind, he dropped involuntarily to his knees, eyes wide. Cassie, Red Banner and Tyrant advance now. I intensified Emperor's presence, amplifying both our abilities. As I screamed at Cassie, I lunged my leg toward Tristan. Cassie obeyed instantly. She stomped forward, one leg planted hard, and a crimson aura rolled across the ground like a shockwave. It covered the entire battlefield like red fog. She didn't waste a second. As she stomped, she slid her other leg back, thighs going rigid, stance dropping low. From the clouds above, a red banner rose, billowing in the storm Tristan and Stormwhite had created. Cassie charged forward like a tyrannical river of blood. All of this was less than a second. As Cassie charged, my leg swung toward Tristan but hit empty air. He vanished. I whipped my head around, no sign of him. But Red Banner's effect was kicking in. To make this plan work, I'd studied Cassie's abilities thoroughly, looking for ways we could synergize, ways to amplify each other in battle. My Emperor's presence buffed her. Her Red Banner buffed me. When Cassie manifested Red Banner, all allies gained 100% damage, fear immunity, and pain suppression. All enemies lost morale and will to fight. It was designed for large-scale warfare, but who said I couldn't apply it to myself? My Emperor's presence made allies stronger and enemies weaker, intensity depending on how much spirit essence I devoted to it. I could focus on a specific target. Right now, I focused on wherever Stormwight was hiding, weakening it so Cassie's advance would land hard enough to force the summon to reveal itself. Still had to worry about Tristan, though. A blow slammed into my right flank. I folded like paper and skidded across the ground. How the hell is he this strong? Crackle. The entire yard shook. Crash. The massive red river surging forward collided with the storm and smashed it against the wall, solidifying into the white beast. Cassie's hand shot out of the advancing crimson tide, grabbed Stormwight by the head and hurled him sideways. The beast tumbled and crashed into one of the support beams. Clara and Lyra reeled away from the impact, shielding their faces from flying splinters. Cassie moved. She shot forward at terrifying speed, each step covering impossible distance. Before Stormwight could vanish, she grabbed him by the tail, dragged him away from the building, and slammed him into the ground. Once, twice, 3 times. Just as I stood, still recovering from whatever the hell that punch was, Tristan appeared beside me, grinning like an evil cocksucker. He slammed a kick into my head. My head snapped sideways. I rolled away from the impact like a soccer ball after a perfect free kick. He rushed me again. While Tyrant Empress smashed the beast into the ground, Tristan was smashing and disfiguring my face with kicks, grinning the whole time. You fail as a summon if you can't protect your summoner, Tristan yelled. Cassie yanked her head back. In that same moment, another kick slammed into my gut, launching me into the air. I tumbled, blood spraying from my mouth. Cassie's eyes blazed with red light. The pressure intensified. Her flowing red banner whipped more violently, like it was battling the storm itself. Her demonic helmet formed over her head. She shot toward Tristan, a swirl of sparks forming a long red and black greatsword in her hand. The distance closed in a fraction of a second. Tristan's eyes widened. He shook, lost his balance. Cassie's killing intent hit him before she did, her sword following behind. The wind parted, fled from her path as she swung the blade from behind her, carrying all its weight one-handed. Stormwight struck like a lightning bolt, colliding with the sword mid-swing. The shockwave blasted me and Tristan away. Cassie tilted back but held her ground, already twisting her wrist to redirect the blade's momentum for another strike. In that moment it hit me. Cassie was inherently a villainess. I immediately yelled at her with Warlord's command. Cassie, stop. Chapter 29, The Suspicious Church. For a moment, I thought she wouldn't listen. That's exactly why I'd used Warlord's command to reinforce the order. I couldn't take chances, not with this one. Just as I barked the order, her hand froze mid-swing. Immediately, I dispelled her, returning her to my soul's spirit plane. I exhaled hard, my shoulders slumped, knees buckling. I collapsed to the ground. That single moment pressed down harder than the entire battle combined. Tristan stood, dispelling Stormwight and brushing sand from his clothes. Hugh, that was close. His casual tone, despite nearly dying, it almost pissed me off. Did he not realize how close that was? He just seemed so laid back about everything. It was like looking in a mirror, except Tristan was nothing like me. He was twisted. Broken. I'm not twisted and I'm perfectly fine. If my life were on the line, I'd be pointing fingers and cursing up a storm. He held out a hand to me. I stared at his hand, then shifted my gaze to his face. He was smiling, warm and careless, like he hadn't just nearly died. I took his hand and let him pull me up. He clapped my shoulder. You're way better than that clueless kid from 2 weeks ago. I looked at him with doubt. Really? Hish, he smacked his teeth, then smiled a second later. Why would I lie? You've made serious progress. You went from not knowing how to block or throw a punch to reading my attacks, using your attributes to complement your strikes. You're building a combat style that actually works for you and your summon. His words lifted my spirits. I'd spent hours figuring out how to win solo fights as a commander class. Having Tristan acknowledge that effort, it meant something. If only I could fight better. Tristan caught my fallen expression and scoffed. Don't sulk, even with a combat attribute you'd still lose to me. I've been doing this for 20 years. You've had 2 weeks, bozo, give yourself some grace. I gave him a small frown. You should see how fast my classmates are getting stronger. Tristan scoffed again, jerking his head slightly. They'll fold, all of them. Practice and theory are 10 worlds apart. They spar without their lives on the line. Half of them will die in real situations. But you, he flashed me a genuine smile. I haven't taught you a damn thing, just fought you, gave you punches that ached for days. It's nothing compared to what you'll face in a spirit gate, but you've learned the cost of bad timing. You've got more practical sense than your classmates. You'll do well tomorrow. I looked down, muttering under my breath, tomorrow. Ag, that's right. Tristan opened his hand, sparks sprayed and something materialized, a pair of curved black daggers. I stared at them confused. I guess they haven't told you guys yet, those pagans. He exhaled, scratching his head. This is spirit gear. Spirit gear, I repeated. Yeah, basically a spirit gear can be a weapon, armor, anything. The point is, both you and your summon can use it. The Blood Conqueror, have you tried lifting her sword? I stared at him, confused and surprised. I can use her sword. He chuckled. Of course, that's the whole point of spirit gear. Heroic spirits always come with spirit gear, but some summoners can craft them. For us regular summoners, we rely on these summoners. He handed me the daggers. I got these for you, been thinking about your fighting style. These should fit better and complement the Blood Conqueror. I looked at the curved black daggers, red lines trimming the sharp edges, cross guards wrapping around my knuckles as I gripped them tight. Nothing decorative. It seemed crafted for pure function, or it was just really cheap. I've always loved daggers. A smile spread across my face. I met Tristan's eyes. Thank you, Tristan, this is perfect. He smiled back, just come back alive. Yes, the worm speaks truth, Cade. We must see each other again. Don't you dare die out there. Clara approached with Lyra beside her. I looked at the daggers in my hands and commanded them back to my spirit plane like I would with Cassie. They vanished instantly. A reassuring smile settled on my face as I looked at Clara and Lyra. Don't worry, I'll make it back. Lyra's lips curved. Don't take spirit gates lightly. Even an A-rank heroic summoner can die in an F-rank gate if they're careless, so be careful. I smiled again. I will. I turned to Tristan. This spirit gear, why haven't we been told about it? What does the Church of Eternal Light gain by keeping this from us? Tristan pocketed his hands. Hell if I know, they're possessive. They do what benefits them, damn the cost to everyone else. Whatever you do, don't make an enemy of them. Stay low until you're strong enough to protect yourself. The Church of Eternal Light in our kingdom is just a branch. The Church itself rules the Solaris Empire. They have heroic spirit summoners there, paladins who could squash you without trying. I frowned. They have heroic spirit summoners, but they made it sound like we're the only ones. Clara exhaled, glancing at Lyra before responding. Heroic spirit summoners are rare. That puts you otherworlders in the top 5%, but no, you're not the only ones. Don't believe everything they teach at the Academy. The Academy's a tool. The Church is using it to indoctrinate you before releasing you into the world. Lyra added, they don't care about you because you're F-rank. They're convinced you have a low-tier summon. I folded my arms, thinking back to the first day I summoned Cassie. I looked at them thoughtfully. To be honest, that man, the old bishop, it looked like he recognized Cassie. I mean, you all do. Only because you told us, Lyra said. No one's lived 8,000 years to know what the Blood Conqueror looked like. I'm sure the bishop judged on appearance, her horned helmet, the color and feel of her aura. For religious folks, it's more apparent. I nodded, absorbing the information. You're good, Tristan tapped my back. Just remember, don't cause trouble until you're strong enough to protect yourself. He exhaled sharply. Well then, I've got somewhere to be. Clara looked at him with a tight frown. Tristan returned it. What? Don't look at me like that. Who's the pretty prey this time? He sighed. Trouble in Greystone. I'd be thrilled if it happens to be a maiden who knows how to throw a blade. Clara's frown deepened immediately. Brutus contacted you. I glanced between the three of them, totally lost, but the name Brutus shifted the air, brought something serious with it. Not him, Levi did. You know I owe him. He's been investigating Greystone for a while. His partner disappeared after discovering something. He called me in to help, so I'll probably be gone a week. Tristan looked at me. If the gate's easy, you'll be done in 3 days, if not, expect a week. He turned to Lyra and Clara. In the meantime, you two stay out of trouble and take care of the guild. Clara nodded, quickly using her side eye to look at Lyra, who gave Tristan a smile and complied. Yes, yes, bossu, we've got you. Tristan scratched his forehead in frustration. Damnation, I can't believe I'll be in a forest for a week with no sex. I hate you too. He walked past us, heading into the building. Chapter 30, Passionate Night. After Tristan left, I hung around the guild until late evening, talking with Baba and Peel, the two who usually gave me bread and water. There were others too. Bryson, an attendant, Victoria's sister, Emma, more stray than member, who had no real function except showing up to fight with Baba about how filthy he was. Their fights were always comedy gold. But I loved Baba and Peel's conversations most. They gave me a window into this world which I barely knew. It's really hard to picture you as a soldier, Baba. I laughed after hearing how he'd saved a countess's daughter back in his soldier days. They fell in love, but their difference in status blocked any chance of marriage. In the end, she was married off to a duke. Baba shook his head. It's a mad world we live in, Cade. You can't have anything, nothing at all unless you matter. You either gotta have the balls or the power. Peel shot him a look. What are you saying? Even balls require power. He turned to me. I don't know what kind of world you're coming from, Cade, but step wrong in this one and you'll be killed. No justice, no mercy. If you don't matter, the rules don't care about you. That's why my advice is simple: matter, be strong. You've got the tools, don't shy from them, use them well. I nodded. I plan to do just that. Just then, Lyra emerged from Clara's room and walked to our table. She smiled, filling him with your endless war stories. Baba shot her a glare. What would you know? You never stay around to listen. Lyra laughed and shook her head. She looked at me. We should get going. I said goodbye to Baba and Peel, waved to Bryson and Emma and the others on my way out. Outside, the sky had gone dark. Inside, candles blazed in a network of golden light, drowning the main hall in their glow. We stepped out of the mercenary guild and walked up the street. Silvery light poured from the lamp posts, painting the cobblestones. We walked in silence, unhurried, weaving through the crowd. It had doubled since afternoon. Voices rose and fell, people talking, cheering, stall owners hawking their wares to passers-by. I watched Lyra. She was quieter than usual. Her hair caught the lamplight, golden eyes calm, skin luminous. She wore a dark teal dress that moved like liquid, catching the light. It traced her shape, curves sculpted by confidence, not just beauty. Embroidered blossoms ran along her sides, following the line from waist to hip. Her amber hair framed her face in short layers. Those golden eyes, cool, unhurried, sharp, held a calm that could cut through words. When she raised her hand to adjust a strand, the motion was effortless. Nothing about her was loud, yet everything demanded attention. Still, something was different. She was quieter tonight. Are you okay? Lyra's head snapped toward me. Yeah, I'm fine. She tilted her head, smile turning sly. Are you worried about me? I raised a brow. Am I not supposed to be? She chuckled. Well, you're the one who said an old lady like me couldn't get attached just because we had sex. I exhaled. That was then. Things change. I wouldn't blame you if you got attached. I paused. Besides, I care about you, and you are definitely not old. She stopped and stared at me with a stunned expression. Under her gaze, I rubbed the back of my neck and let out an awkward laugh. You're starring. I am. Her voice was soft. Were you always this handsome? I frowned. Handsome? That's an understatement. You should see my family line. We come from the lineage of gods. Before I could finish, her lips pressed against mine. She rose on her toes, caught my lower lip between hers, tongue soft and warm. I tried to mutter a protest, but her kiss, fierce and demanding, sealed my lips. When she finally broke away, a thin, shimmering string of saliva stretched between us, snapping with a soft, wet sound. We're outside, I gasped, but her eyes burned into mine, completely disregarding my concern. Instead, she snatched my hand, her grip surprisingly strong, and pulled me towards the inky blackness of the alley beside us. As we plunged into the narrow passage, the prickle of a gaze followed us. I'd felt it even before the kiss, a persistent unease that Lyra's sudden quietness had overshadowed. Yet as we disappeared into the alley, the sensation vanished, or at least seemed to, as if whatever had been watching had lost interest. Trying to shake off the distraction, I focused as Lyra slammed me against the rough brick wall and kissed me again, harder this time. She came at me with an intensity that stole my breath, her tongue a demanding exploration of mine, while her hands plunged beneath my shirt, fumbling for my waistband. I met her fire with my own, my hands finding the swell of her tight ass, gripping, caressing, and eliciting a sharp, satisfying slap from the night. The sound was immediately swallowed by the city's indifferent noise. A flicker of unease about our surroundings warred with a sudden, unexpected surge of arousal. The sheer audacity of the moment, Lyra's lips devouring mine, burned away any lingering hesitation. With both hands, I lifted her, her legs instantly coiling around my waist. We deepened the kiss, a frantic dance of tongues and mouths as I turned her, pressing her flat against the cold, unyielding wall. For a timeless moment we were locked in that embrace until the strain in my muscles must have betrayed me and she broke away, breathless. She dropped to her knees before me, her fingers working at my zipper. My trousers fell and my rod sprang free, hard as stone. Her hands, surprisingly cool against my heat, enveloped me and a wave of pure, unadulterated pleasure surged through every fiber of my being. She took the tip of my cock into her mouth, her tongue tracing lazy circles around its crown, then slicked it with her saliva before taking me deeper, her mouth a masterful rhythm of licking and sucking. Gripped by waves of pleasure so intense they bordered on pain, I stifled a groan, my eyes squeezing shut. My hand found her hair, a desperate anchor as she began to take me fully into her throat. Slurp, slurp, slurp. Each movement was an exquisite torment, a sensation so profound it defied language. It felt as though a part of me had been severed, lost within the slick, yielding depths of some primal, monstrous maw, yet I could still feel the phantom touch, the exquisite connection. She drew me deeper still, her throat working, a soft gag escaping her lips as she looked up at me, her eyes wide. My legs trembled uncontrollably, and despite my efforts to remain still, my hips instinctively began to move. The buildup was relentless, a crescendo of sensation until with an explosive surge I erupted, a torrent of white heat filling her mouth. My vision swam, the world dissolving into pure sensation. She looked up at me from her kneeling position, her gaze carrying a profound innocence, a silent plea for dominion. It was an absolute submission, unlike anything I had ever witnessed. Slowly she raised the hem of her dress, her movements deliberate as she pulled down her panties. She folded them with trembling fingers and placed them into my pocket. A faint sheen of moisture tracked down her inner thighs. I fought the urge to gloat, a different hunger stirring within me, a need to understand, to know what this wild, consuming thing between us truly was. She looked at me then, her expression like that of a bewildered puppy. "Aren't you going to fuck me?" she whispered, her eyes flicking down to my still hard cock. "It's still hard." She licked her finger, her gaze meeting mine, a dangerous blend of innocence and invitation. "Please, Cade, I need you inside me." She spread her legs, her hand drifting to her core. "I love it when you fill me up," she murmured, her voice thick with longing. "When you fuck me and tell me to call you master. I love the way you look at me when you're inside me. I love how you touch my body. I don't want to stop being fucked by you. So can you fuck me now? And then can we go to my place and you can fuck me again until I can't feel anything, or until the sun comes up?"